get this thing rocking and rolling, as we say, because there are a ton of opportunities within the middle market, especially emerging middle market businesses, for them to basically access funding to continue to grow their business, continue to reap the benefits of debt financing, while looking at other forms of funding and other forms of investment that might be going on in the background. Really quick, my name is Tony Cimino. I'm our VP of Business Development here. That's my direct contact information. You can feel free to screenshot this slide or write down the info and reach out to me anytime. One thing I love to do is talk. You're definitely going to hear that on the webinar today. So I definitely love to talk, but I would love to talk business with you individually. So feel free to reach out to me anytime to talk business and really go through what it means to work with ROK. Basically, my whole role is around building relationships with those that are in and around middle market businesses. So feel free to reach out to me, ask questions, run scenarios by me, but love to meet everybody and get a chance to chat. Really quick, the basis, excuse me, of today's conversation is really around what you see on the slide here, and that's businesses are really only as good as the resources they have access to, and one of the number one resources that they have access to is the people that help them grow their business, right? So I know we all come across these transactions from time to time where there's a really great opportunity, there's a really great business and business owner, but maybe we're not able to fully deliver on exactly what that business might need in terms of capital, in terms of getting them access to funding, right? So we've built our platform to really expand that capital access for medium-sized businesses, where they can leverage us and the relationships we've built with banks and lenders to be a debt advisory service back to them, really helping them understand what options might be available and how they can leverage those options going forward within their business, ensuring that they're able to sustain long term, right? The real secret here is, and I'm a firm believer in this, is we're commercial financing's best kept secret, right? When you talk about a resource that your customers and the businesses that you're working with need, as well as you should have in your back pocket, I believe ROK Financial is second to none because of the hands-on approach, the white glove treatment that we have for all borrowers that decide to apply with us. I can't tell you how many times a borrower will apply with us, will understand what their need is, and potentially they might not even look to take the funding just based on either senior debt coming in and being able to service the need, or them just really understanding that, hey, we can actually bootstrap this thing a little bit longer and then take advantage of capital from us 3 to 6, maybe even 9 or 12 months from now, right? So definitely excited to explain more and get a chance to really go into things, right? A lot of times what we see is senior lenders, we see investors getting involved in transactions, right? And then essentially the business, they utilize those funds, they're able to continue to take advantage of opportunity. However, from time to time, opportunities arise, right? Challenges might arise. And what we've seen is that you really need the ability to have subordinated debt as a part of the capital stack, being able to leverage different options for each of the businesses and corporations that you're working with, right? So what we've done is we've really focused on that portion of lending, right? Where we will understand what type of senior debt or investments are in place, subordinate to those options, and then ultimately getting that business access to the funding they need to continue to fuel the growth within their business. I thought a really great way to explain this to you guys would be to share a couple of quick case studies. So I'm not gonna go too long, but I am a storyteller, so I'm gonna tell you a little bit of a story about these couple of transactions here. This one on your screen is a wholesale distribution company in New Jersey. We recently funded them for $4.5 million, and their use of the funding was to purchase the adjacent warehouse in the lot next to them, being able to essentially double their square footage, being able to essentially double the amount of business that they could do in that location. And for this business owner, it was really a timing and time sensitive opportunity. What happens is business owners come across these things all the time, right? When your neighbor is looking to sell their property, one of the first people that are going to know is the neighbor that lives next door, right? Well, that's what happened here. They were able to understand that their direct neighbor, the person that owned the lot directly next to them, was looking to sell the land. But before that deal could actually make it to market, this business owner wanted to take advantage of exactly that, being able to keep that deal off of the market. Because we all know that once the market gets involved, right, who knows what can happen? It could start a bidding war, right? Potentially the appraisals come back and it could be worth much more than what's anticipated, right? So essentially, in this scenario, what they were looking for is $4.5 million. They were putting down 500,000 of their own money as like an equity injection. So they were coming out of pocket for 10% of the transaction, and essentially they just needed to move quickly, right? So a true commercial mortgage was not necessarily an option here. Going with their bank that they've had a long-standing relationship with just wasn't an option here. We're not talking about having weeks or even months to wait for this transaction. We're literally talking about just over a week, right? So we did this deal in just about 13 days, right? We had $4.5 million funded on a term loan over 12 months. And basically what that did was it allowed this business to get involved with this new location, right? To take advantage of that opportunity, keep this deal off the market. Our understanding was when talking with the business owner and really understanding the opportunity was that the property itself was probably worth closer to like 8.5 million. But being able to have a relationship with the seller, he had known the gentleman that was selling the property for a really long time. They'd been neighbors for forever, essentially. And basically what happened in this scenario was he was approached, said, "Hey, I'm looking to sell. This is what I would want. However, I am looking to sell. So if it's not something you're able to make happen, well, then I'm going to go to market and I'm going to put a for sale sign on this thing and I'm going to let the market do its thing." Right. So this business owner was introduced to us through one of our long-term partners that offers jumbo mortgages, right? They do personal and commercial mortgages between $5 and $15 million. So as you can expect, the business owner approached this individual saying, "Hey, I'm looking to purchase this piece of real estate. Are you able to help me? But I have to move extremely quickly." And she let them know, "Hey, we're not going to be able to help you that fast, but I do know somebody that can." And in this scenario, what's great is we didn't encumber the asset directly, right? So by providing a term loan that's based on the business's performance, we're not actually encumbering that asset that they were purchasing, right? So they're essentially utilizing the cash flow and the revenue within their business to get access to funding, and then the business itself purchased the property, right? So their use of funds was to purchase the property, but that doesn't mean that they needed an actual commercial mortgage to do so. And what that does in the future is it allows them to pull that equity out of that property, right? So they're not quite there yet. They've talked a lot about kind of waiting the rates out a little bit and seeing kind of what happens, and allowing that to take place. They're able to afford the loan payments and they're able to pay off the note. But essentially, they have this new asset within the business that now they not only could reap the benefits of doubling the amount of square footage that they have to service the business that they're doing as a distributor, but they're able to also take advantage of the business owning an additional asset, right? And we all know that the assets that a business owns allows them to be extremely creative going forward, right? So this was a home run opportunity for the business owner, obviously for us as well, where we were able to come in and really provide extreme value. But this is the type of transactions that we see over and over and over again. I have countless of these examples that I could go through with you guys. But we just decided to do two quick ones just to kind of keep the ball rolling for you. We do have a second one here. It's pretty simple, if I'm being honest. This business makes a ton of money as a transportation company, and basically what they are is they are looking to continue to grow their business. They're in rapid growth mode. They recently even took out some financing on the business, right? So this is what might have made it a bit challenging for us and really for any lender that's getting involved, right? We completed this transaction at the end of April. Right at the beginning of May, it was like end of April into the beginning of May, where we were able to get this company $2 million, right? And essentially, what had happened was they had taken on $15 million accounts receivable revolving line of credit against the business's receivables right in January, right? So when you look at the picture from a lending perspective, you might say, hey, cash flow is a little tight, yes, but what you're actually doing is you're just funding the business to sustain the business. But that was not the case, right? And what's interesting about us and the strategy that we apply and the process that we put business owners through when it comes to gaining access to funding is really story driven, if I'm being honest, right? I know we all love a great story that tells how a business is going to utilize funding or tells how a business is potentially going to continue to see growth in the future, right? But what we're able to do is we're then able to articulate that story the way that the lenders and the banks and the underwriters and credit committees need to hear that information, right? So what we did was we were able to do some deep digging and understand, okay, they are looking to utilize this capital to continue to grow the business. They were purchasing some new equipment. They were hiring some additional employees. Like I said, they're in growth mode. So they're doing these things to take advantage of the fact that they're in growth mode, right? So despite the fact that they had just gotten access to a line, they didn't want to have to encumber the line to continue to take on new opportunities, right? So what they did was they looked for additional funding, right? And we were able to come in, subordinate our debt to that debt that they currently had on the business and get them access to revenue-based financing over 20 months in just under 8 days, right? So $2 million in 8 days into the business checking account is extremely quick. And we knew that we had to move quickly because this borrower had been around the block. They had been looking for a while. They had started in early April, and basically they were ready to throw their hands in the air and just kind of give up on things. But we said, hey, give us a shot here. Let us take a look at the business from a financial perspective and be able to tell your story on your behalf. And ultimately, it led to another rock star success. So these are the types of transactions we come across all the time. I recently spoke with a middle market banker from Chase who had sent over a customer that was a very large marketing company that makes about $15 million a year. Not extremely large, right? But for marketing, there's mom and pop shops all over the place. This was a couple of brothers that had started a brand, had done some really great things within their agency, and had grown it to $15 million a year, just about $3 million in EBITDA. And basically, they were looking for capital because Chase was looking at them like, you're not large enough, right? So they were looking for capital within the business. We were able to help them out as well. But Chase had limited their line of credit. They had once had a $1 million line of credit through Chase. To start this year, their line was chopped down to $200,000, just simply because they're in the marketing industry. So with uncertainty, with not really understanding what's going to come next, like I said earlier in the presentation here, it really is all about being able to understand the resources you have access to, and how can those resources help you sustain, help you grow, help you get to that next level, right? So what we know is we're more of a stepping stone than we necessarily are the forever solution, right? But when you need capital, we're like investors that are here when you need us and gone when you don't, right? So just think of us that way when you're thinking of how to utilize the service that we provide, right? So couple things that I want you to be able to take away from today's conversation is why partner with ROK Financial, or why work with us, or why work with Tony and the team, right? We're going to go into that in much more detail. How can we support you and the businesses that you're working with, right? We've touched on some of those things already with a couple of the success stories / case studies, but realistically, the overall scenario is that we are a wealth of knowledge as to what is available, and I'll go more into that as well. And what resources are available to you in your network, right? Like, what are the actual resources that we're providing? Obviously, the first thing is being a debt advisory firm, but as outside of that, like I said, we have a ton of information and a ton of insight that we continue to share on a regular basis, right? So as we've positioned ourselves within the middle market, what you can really expect from us here at ROK is that we're going to continue to do what we do best, right? We move extremely efficient. We are all about speed, meaning that we don't want a borrower or somebody waiting for us, right? What we do is we get information into the right hands quickly, so that decisions can be made efficiently, so that decisions can be made well informed, having all of the information the right way to make the right decision the first time, right? We're extremely flexible and customizable, right? We really do understand different risk profiles, different industries, where they're going, how they're changing, and we're able to help you, your customers, the businesses that you're working with, understand their own picture from their own lens. And that is a true customized approach that we take by dissecting every business's opportunities and what that business may have access to today, and then in the future, right? And ultimately, the best service that we provide is risk mitigation, right? In that we're going to really understand, how to lower the risk by understanding the business's performance historically, currently, but also in terms of projections and where things are going, depending on exactly what they're utilizing the funding for, right? Some are purchasing another business, some are purchasing real estate, some are growing and taking advantage of other opportunities within the business. All of those things kind of change the picture a little bit, and where we provide a ton of expertise is in those areas, and being able to explain that back to you, your customers, in a way that makes sense. Sorry, I thought that was going to click. It didn't. Um, so just to go into us a little bit, right? A little bit about our background, right? What we've been founded on is the idea that businesses need help when it comes to capital, right? Yes, some have CFOs and teams of people that are there doing these things within the business, but what they don't get is a bird's eye view on all of these industries all at the same time, right? So that's ROK Financial. We see pretty close to like 7,000 or 8,000 applications for funding a month. We fund nearly 1,000 businesses every single month. So we're seeing a lot of different transactions, a lot of different opportunities from small and medium-sized businesses across the country. And what that does is it gives us a ton of information. And we've done a really great job of dissecting that information to make educated predictions on what's coming next, really dissecting the marketplace today. And like I said earlier, understanding how a business can leverage their capital stack and be able to continue to grow, continue to take advantage, and ultimately get to where they're trying to go, right? Some are looking to have an exit strategy in place. Some are looking to grow and be the exit strategy for others, right? By buying up some other businesses. So what we do is we really pride ourselves on understanding the full picture and then being able to help based on that. Don't take my word for it, right? We have thousands of reviews, 5-star reviews across Trustpilot, Google reviews. You can Google us. We're Googleable. That might not be a term, but I did see it in a TikTok video not that long ago. But at the end of the day, realistically, you can listen to me. We can have these conversations, or you could do a little bit of research for yourself. I have no problem putting you in contact with other people who are currently working with us. If that's the type of information you're looking for, if that's the type of onboarding that you're looking for, where you can connect with somebody that's already working with us, we can certainly do that. We funded over $2.5 billion to over 10,000 businesses, with over 17,000 active partners on our platform that are utilizing our services. We've done a really great job of shifting our business towards the middle market and emerging middle market businesses over the past 5 years, really since COVID, if I'm being honest. So we've seen that funding number jump. When we first started out, we were primarily just funding small businesses. Our average loan size used to be about $35,000 to $40,000. Currently, where that sits on an average across all transactions that we do is upwards of about $150,000 to $200,000 on each transaction. But what we see from those in the emerging middle market, what we see from those in the middle market, really the sweet spot for us in there is anywhere between $500,000 up to 10, maybe 15, $20 million in funding. That's really the sweet spot for us, where we're going to be the most advantageous to you and the businesses that you're working with. And then just some of the top industries that we service, from wholesale distribution and transportation, like you guys saw in the success stories, to education businesses, technology, professional services, like staffing and recruiting and those types of businesses, as well as food and beverage, e-commerce and retail, healthcare, dental, medical businesses, manufacturers, construction, general contracting, specialized contracting, things like HVAC, roofing, plumbing, all the different electricians, all the different specialized contractors, right, that are working in the commercial sector, in the private sector. It really does not matter to us. We're pretty industry agnostic on who we're able to help. But realistically, what makes us advantageous, what makes us a resource back to those businesses, is understanding their industry, understanding what others are currently doing when it comes to getting access to capital, and then how they could potentially use that for themselves, either now or in the future. So definitely feel free to put us to the test, right? But the best thing that I can explain to you is what you see on this slide here. It's the service that we provide. We tailor our solutions to the specific needs and the financial strengths within a growth stage company, right? What we're really, really good at is picking out the key details that will allow banks and lenders to get comfortable in extending capital to these businesses, right? And that's like the general message that I hope you leave here with today, is understanding that, the service that we actually provide is being a debt advisory institution, where these businesses are able to take advantage of somebody that understands the capital markets, their need for capital, and how that fits within their capital stack going forward in the in the future here. So that's the resource that we can be for you, for the businesses that you're working with, allowing you to really take advantage of the fact that these things do exist. And what I can say is I've been in this industry for about 10 years now, and it's really exploded in the past 3 to 5, if I'm being honest. I think when COVID hit, there was kind of a shift in the markets. Businesses had to be creative on where they were getting funding from, as a lot of people paused what they were doing with the uncertainty that was going on, right? So within that, what we saw was a shift in our business, like I had talked about, with just the average funding size changing, right? But as we've gone on here year after year, the past few years, it's continued to stay the same, where businesses that are a bit larger are reaching into an industry like ours, where they're really trying to understand what are all the options that are available, right? Outside of their bank relationship, outside of investment funds, between investments, right? Maybe they've gotten a Series A and a Series B, and while they're waiting for the next Series C investment to take place, they're looking for something to take advantage of an opportunity now, right? That's the service that we provide. We provide access to being able to buy out, or through mergers and acquisitions, so partner buyouts or buying other businesses, large equipment purchases, right? Whether that's one very large piece of equipment or many smaller pieces of equipment, it doesn't really change much for us, right? Or just assisted with general working capital needs that a business might need to take advantage of opportunities, or solve a cash flow crunch, as maybe they're waiting on senior debt, or any other scenario that might come up. So that's the service that we provide. And if there was one message that I wanted you to leave here today with, it's that one there, right? So just so you have a bird's eye view on what the process looks like, basically, we're going to do a quick evaluation of the borrower and assess the capital needs within the business, right? Where we're then going to really do a deep dive and match that borrower with the best type of funding that's available to them, allowing you to take advantage of our expertise and the reach within the products that we have. Once we've established what is the right product, then we're going to structure the financing to make the most sense. Meaning, that's where rates, terms, finalizing how much money exactly all happens, right? Because, understanding that portion is probably the biggest advantage to having ROK Financial by your side, if I'm being honest. Because a lot of times understanding that and leveraging that is what can come back to bite a business owner, or to spite them in the future, right? When you're talking to a lender, I've never met a lender that didn't believe they had the right exact solution for somebody, right? But what we found is that it might be two products that make sense, right? It might be three products that make sense. It might be two products over time that make sense, right? So that's where structuring the right financing solution can really be a major advantage, right? And then just finalizing the transaction itself, ultimately getting that deal across the finish line, where the funds have been dispersed and ultimately are in the business's checking account, right? Just kind of talking through the structuring of a deal, it made me think of a transaction we recently did. It was a special needs school down in Texas that was referred to us by somebody that works in the business, does the same thing as us, but they weren't able to get the business what they were looking for. The business came to us. They currently had options for up to $750,000. However, their need was actually closer to $2 million. Basically, what they were doing is they were renovating this special needs school. And what they were looking at was having to shut the school down, not make money for a bit, and then be able to take advantage of the fact that they were going to open this school back up with all these renovations, and be able to take on more business that way, right? So what we were able to structure for them was a $1.8 million term loan, But it was done in tranches. And what I mean by that is they got $900,000 as like an initial funding. But the way that it was structured was 8 weeks later, they got access to another $400,000. And 8 weeks after that, they got access to another $400,000. And basically, that allowed them to time the construction and the renovations with the capital, meaning that in the beginning, they were only making payments on the $900,000, right? So for that first month or so, it wasn't costing them for $2 million that they hadn't deployed yet, right? As time went on and they deployed those funds and needed those funds, they were able to take advantage of those other tranches that were then available to them, right? So these are just some small examples of how structuring the right type of financing, structuring the transaction to make the most sense for exactly what's going on within the transaction, right? So that's part of the advantage to having us in your corner or working with ROK Financial on behalf of the customers that you're working with. Oh, too fast, too fast. I don't know how that happened. I have a saying. This is a saying that I've used for years, and that financing isn't an if, it's a when, right? And when you think of financing, think of rock. That's how it really goes. But no, the true fact of the matter is that businesses are looking for funding from time to time, right? There are more banks, lenders, service providers, investment funds available by the day, right? More and more people are getting involved in this industry. I mean, there's really only four ways to make money, right? You can invest in businesses, you can invest in your own business, you can invest in multiple businesses through a fund, right? But these opportunities have become easier to get involved with. And with that, you've seen more and more competition out there. And what competition has bred, if I'm being honest, is that as long as you understand the options that are available, as long as you understand who's doing what within the marketplace, well, then you can essentially really confidently be able to provide businesses with the right resources at the right time. And that's what we pride ourselves on being for you and for your customers. So if you're working with, emerging middle market businesses, with even some large small businesses or small medium sized businesses that are looking for capital, then there's no better option than working with ROK Financial, because we're going to really hold your hand as well as your customer's hand throughout the entire transaction or any transactions that we're working together. And that's not just a promise. That's exactly what we show up every single day and do. So definitely excited to have the opportunity to explain this to you guys. Hopefully you understand a bit about some of those frequently asked questions like we talked about. And if you are looking to work with us, or you have somebody that comes to mind that you spoke to last month or even in the last 3 months that are looking for funding, feel free to scan this QR code here on the screen. Would love to get a chance to chat with you personally. We can certainly reach out to you via email, whatever it is, but definitely align with you here in the future and be able to answer any questions or go over any scenarios that you might have. And would love to get a chance to chat with you in the future. If you're just looking to reach out for more generalized information, you're not into the QR code thing, feel free to head on over to our website, give us a call, send us an email. You also have my contact info from earlier in the presentation. You can reach out to me directly. The one thing that I would say is we're people, and we're people, meaning that you can reach out to us. We're willing to have a conversation and discuss, what might be the best way for us to work together in the future. But I look forward to working with a lot of you in the future and getting a chance to help some of the businesses within your network. Thanks, everybody. Have a rock star day, and look forward to working with everybody in the future.